The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
And welcome to Aries Brood on the Military Broadcast Radio. I really appreciate you tuning in today. It is early in the year, and there are just some there are some great games out there, and so I wanted to show you one of my personal favorites that I have reiterated many times, like on this this channel, and with a little spin. I really feel like this game is great for veterans, and so we're just going to get into that a bit. And what is this game, you ask? Well, this is the Alien RPG, and this Alien RPG, I'm just gonna say it like this: is this a game that is made for veterans? I'll put it like that, because I just really feel like, man, like this game, it just really plays well for veterans, and I really enjoy the heck out of it. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So, the Free League Publishing has created the Alien RPG, and for anyone that is familiar with this game, then this is the Evolved Edition. So a second edition of the game, and it's fantastic. And I'm glad that they reworked some fiddly bits, that were I don't know, just dragging a bit, and the game had been out for 5 years, and so a lot of players, just had a lot of notes for Free League, and some changes that they really wanted to see. Now, now I said, like, why why the Alien RPG, like, is built for veterans, or like, why would I say that? Well, so if you've ever been a part of a unit, if you've ever trusted the person next to you with your life, and if you've ever lived inside pressure, uncertainty, sprinkled with a bit of dark humor, then you already understand Alien. You already understand, where it's going, and where you're going there with. And Alien isn't about superheroes. It's about crews. It's about missions going sideways. It's about leadership under stress. And today we're going to just talk about the Alien RPG and how it's become one of the most powerful tabletop experiences out there, in my experience. And if you ask me, especially for veterans. So Alien is a franchise, really, that is built on crews and not heroes. So like when Alien came out, it wasn't sci-fi fantasy. It was like chain of command tension, corporate decisions, like made far away, equipment failures, bad intelligence, and the crew paying the price for that. And we're all familiar with these things. So, these aren't, just like some chosen ones. I mean, they were specialists, they're operators, workers, and Alien has endured because it really understands something that veterans know all too well, that competence doesn't guarantee survival. And that is something that is really baked into the game. And so I think that this tabletop RPG like really hits different for veterans than people like who don't have that visceral experience of joining the military. And here's the truth: just a lot of veterans don't need more shooters. We don't need more Call of Duty or Modern Warfare, Helldivers. I don't know. There's a whole lot of those out there, and we've been there. We've done that, and 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 even in those games, I will admit that there is like some elements of camaraderie that we may be missing. But in Alien, it really works because it's about team problem solving. There's a lot of shared tension, dark humor, to just kind of dark humor under pressure, and telling stories with people who get it. People who just kind of understand this pressure. And that's why tabletop RPGs, especially like the Alien RPG, work. These are a lot of like mature problems, a lot of like mature, you're dealing with like life and death issues and such. And, you're not playing alone. You're reading the room, you're watching stress build, you're making calls with incomplete information. And so that's not exactly like escapism. It's not just like this it's not a utopia like where all of your questions are answered, but you just kind of gotta make the best of it. And it's this controlled chaos with people that you trust. And that's just something about the game that I've just really enjoyed. Now, so we talked like a bit about this stress mechanic, and such. And yeah, let's get a bit into it. So now. So Alien, the core rule book can appear a little daunting, not gonna lie. So this is the core rule book, complete with H.R. Giger's some of his artwork, that is terrifying in its own right. And so he still like lends some influence, like he does with all of the films and such. Now this core rule book like is a little beastly, and I'm gonna just like I want to show you, just for those who may have been familiar with like the first edition, for instance. You're gonna notice that this edition it's just so like so clean. Because like even like the first edition, every page was black as night, and it was a little, the layout was a little chunky. It had you coming and going, and so it's just cool to just see that they took some notes, from what fans were talking about, and they really streamlined it so that now like it is very legible and clean, and you so anybody who might be familiar, like with the first edition, you can see that that they've really streamlined the layout, so that it's just very easy to follow, and compared to what it was, which is great. But what's especially interesting, and this is something that I think really surprises people at the table, is that despite the size of like that core rule book, this is all you need. So they made great little rules reference page that just goes over the bare bones of it. This goes over, just a lot of the the tabletop role playing game musts, like your slow actions and fast actions, what I can do on a turn, what and um and it gets into, just some of the weapons, and just like how if I'm going to use full auto on a weapon or something, like how that may change, like if I'm able to move at the same time, or things like that. And the biggest change that you could really say that happened like in this second edition was the panic response. Well, so, and just caught myself. So now it's not panic anymore. It's a stress response. And so like they now call it stress instead of like panic, because a lot of these things like aren't necessarily like panic, you know, um, panic rolls or panic responses. And so now you can keep cool, spooked, you're noisy, you're twitchy, and all of the effects of like these little effects, your these stress responses affect affect your character in different ways, and from like the first edition. So it is it's just it's a they just like add like a little more nuance into it. So so the starter set just now like comes with, so the adventure for the starter kit is Hope's Last Day. Now Hadley's Hope. Some fans of Alien like may recognize may recognize that name, and that is the colony from the Aliens film, which is the sequel of Aliens. And in Aliens, a colony has they've lost contact with this colony, and so now they've sent in the Colonial Marines with Ellen Ripley, who apparently saw an alien once, and so now there also are some proprietary dice that this starter set comes along with. These are stress die, and these black die are the base die. And so these these darn things are what you're going to want to roll to see if you succeed at anything in this game. And so ultimately you are going to want sixes. And you can play with traditional die, um, but you will notice, that they are, like two separate colors. And why that's important is just because of the fact that during the course of the game, then you will things that will happen, and the game master like may give you more stress as you go along. And so um for instance, like let's say that there is a skill that I have that's calling for, you know, five, skill die, but I'm pretty stressed out, and so like I've got, like a couple of stress die. Well, these stress die, they're going to stay with you in your dice pool for the rest of the game until you start doing something about it. Well, so why do you want to, get rid of these stress die? I mean, they are giving you more die, so you are able to, more potentially like, succeed, because you've got more dice. Yes, you can, like increase your odds at being able to do something, with these stress die. However, um, they also give you the possibility of panicking. And so in this particular case, panicking is what we do. And now sixes, they're great. They're a success. So you did the thing that you were trying to do, like with that skill, so like you were trying to open this door, for instance, or something. So now you've got, but unfortunately, you have also panicked. And so now then you for your for panics, or for like these stress response, then what you're going to do is you're just going to roll a 1d6. And so I rolled a 6, and I had a stress level of 2, and for so then that would mean I have an 8. And so then, as per my handy dandy little rule guide here, then I immediately need to seek shelter. And so my my turn is basically null and void, and that's what I do on my turn is I run for the hills and try to find cover, and instead of whatever the heck I was trying to do, so it can, just like it can really affect, like the story, like you may have been trying to, unlock this door to, to get to somebody, just, but because of this failure, then you have just become overwhelmed, like with stress, and have to make a run for it. And so, and really, like, ultimately what we're trying to do, what you're trying to do in a role-playing game, is you're just trying to tell the best story possible, and so we're going to work with this, we're going to roll with this, and and your character now is just going to be running to try to find cover, and so work with that, like play with that. And um all right. And so you remember the size of this book that I had, the original rule book. Um, it is a little misleading, because this here is basically like the most essential rules, and so yeah, we got the rules reference, like for each player. Awesome. I always love like any game that has any kind of like rule reference, uh, just to, help a guy out. Um, and so these are obviously just kind of like the most important rules, and of course, like the game master, like should, like know, um, just like the the more nuances like of the rules, that will just kind of help with the flow of the game, just kind of like as you go. And that's where you kind of get into this guy here. And so this is the artwork of just the standard core rule book. And but you'll notice that also quite a skimpy, which is great because it really shows like just how simple this game like really can be. I mean, like this is 25 pages, and that's great. That is just the most essential pieces parts, like of the rules, that just gets a bit deeper, than what is on your rules reference. And of course, the GM, like should at the very least, like be fully aware, like of these rules. And so Hadley's Hope in this here little adventure, you're given in this great little starter set. We've got a great little map of the joint, and then this is like just like a simple overview map. There are like a few other maps that are great. There's like 5-6 pages. Now there it came just packed with so much stuff, that I don't know if like I'll go over all of it, but there are some there. I'll go over just some of the cool essentials of it. So then we got, now of course we have like this overview map, like um, of Hadley's Hope. So that's great, to just kind of have like an overview of it. But then we've got like other maps that are more specifically the locations and such in the place. And so then we've got dining halls and airlocks, and um, a shuttle, that's involved in the story, that you very well may be trying to get to, because it's the only way off this rock. And so there's just like some great art, and also like some great characters. Now this here is Janice McWhirr, who is the survey team leader. So like I said, like there is, like some leadership structure. Now, granted, still everybody is going to have free agency, and you can take your leader's advice, or take your um, take your leader's orders, and do what you may with them. But fun thing about being a leader, though, is if you tell somebody to do something and then they follow that order, then they get an additional die to do the thing. So that's pretty cool. And so this here is a typical character sheet. And so you'll see, like just here, we've got attributes and skills. So we have 4 attributes, and then these are all skills that are underneath like these attributes. And this is the dice pool that we are going to do like for what's called skill checks. And so let's say close combat. So she's in close combat. And so I'm going, so her dice pool for close combat is 3 because she has a strength of 3, but then she has a 0 for close combat. And so, or let's say she is trying to shoot a weapon. So this would be ranged combat. Then this would be an agility check. So it'd be agility plus ranged combat. And so it's 2 plus 2. So she has a, so she then has 4. Okay. So then she's trying to jump across a little chasm here. And so she's, oh, wait, no. So ranged combat is shooting. So she's trying to shoot something. So then she would roll. And so she does not, she did not get a 6. So she did not do the thing, but she's going to push the roll. And so she's going to take a stress and she's going to be able to roll all again. And still she doesn't do it. And so now, so these are, just like some of the stress and problems that you will face, just kind of as we kind of go along in the game. And it can be, just like a little daunting at face value, but the core mechanics of the game are just very rudimentary. I mean, it's just it's very simple to see what they're good at. So, for instance, she is the captain, and so her empathy is a 5. She's a very thoughtful captain, and so whenever she gives a command, then she has 8 as her dice pool. So she's able to roll 8 dice for 5 in empathy and then 3 in command. So yeah, so it's just it's pretty cool, and pretty straightforward of like what kind of skill checks we're making, like for all these characters. But and so then we've got Morgan Hirsch here, who's like a security officer. And now let's see, actually for this, we're gonna, just so you can get like just a bit of a sense of the art here. So it's a little gritty, a little, and also now this is kind of a funny thing, but like you notice that it's a very matte piece of paper, like it's not very glossy, which is kind of great when you've got overhead lights, like at a table, and so you just don't have a whole lot of like reflection, and so it's just good for visibility. Which, I mean, it sounds like a weird thing, but at the table, like when you're looking at something for hours, then it's just, I don't know, it's just nice. So yeah, so same deal, like he's got his skills, and then we got Hannah Singleton, who's the tractor driver. Whoop. And Sunny Sig. And so you got all these, these great characters, and it gives you even, just like a little description below, like about the character. So Holroyd, for instance, you are a Wayland Yutani android. You've been on LV-426 for 2 years now, and you're a technician known for getting on with things without complaining. You try to get along with everybody, and overall that works fine. However, you think that Sig spends too much time griping and not enough working, and for some reason, McWhirr seems to dislike you. Now, it's just some great little flavor text, to just kind of help give the game some character and such. As as the story moves along, and so that is just kind of a little introduction to like some of the characters. I think I'm gonna take my our first little break here, as we're about halfway through here. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys sticking it out and just seeing where we're see what this crazy role playing game thing is all about. So, so I will see you in just a little bit after a little die tired.
Complicates and shakes you, consumes all that makes you deep inside your bones. In a moment, choose the things you want and remember who you are and who you want to be. An anonymous dream came calling deep inside your soul. Let it came with love and splendor, everything you owned. It's right there for us. Just take a chance.
All right, and welcome back. Bow. Oh, what is going on here? All right. Okay. So, we talked about stress a bit, and um, so in the Alien RPG, the Evolved Edition, I mean, stress is the system. So I got into, like a bit of just kind of like you know, those extra die, that you're gonna need. Um, well, um, yeah, that is the it doesn't reward, like lone wolves. Like communications necessary, covering each other is important, knowing when to push and like when to pull back. And the stress and the panic system is really the heart of the game. Like you don't necessarily fail per se, because you're bad. I mean, you fail because, like fatigue sets in. You fail, like just because of fear, or you fail, like just because of the circumstances, yeah, or I mean, uh, not using, or like not kind of like leaning on your team, um, and and despite, like fear stacking up, the mission just like keeps moving anyway. The train keeps moving, and if you've got a good GM, then they're able to really pace it out and really kind of, you know, um, find like some, story hooks, just kind of like along the way that really have you, um, you know, uh, that really, have you trying to figure out what the heck's going on. What do we do next? Like how do we defeat this thing? Like, or, how do we get this guy to help us out? All kinds of like little, you know, um, story elements, like along the way. And so it's great. And I think that veterans like immediately understand this because stress isn't theoretical. Like stress is cumulative, it's natural. And it's cool to just have a game, that just really plays with that in a really practical way, if that makes any kind of sense. And also too, this isn't a huge time commitment. So Hope's Last Day, for instance, can be played in uh, 2 to 3 hours. I mean, and granted, your GM, can, the mileage will vary. I mean, the your GM, can, kind of, you know, scale it down or scale it up if necessary. But you're looking at like around 2 to 3 hours, about, uh, in like for instance in the first edition they would call it the cinematic mode. And because really that's what it was. It's very cinematic, like one shot adventure. So this is like a one shot adventure that you can, do in one night, and it's very much just like watching a movie, and you're lower, and like watching a movie with your buddies, and that you're responsible for the action, that is happening, um, for better for worse. And so if you are a veteran, that is looking to try this live, then um, I I want to invite you to join me playing this game. And it's great to start with Hope's Last Day. It's a great introduction to the alien universe, and just and aliens in general, just like starts touching on like, some of like the deeper lore, and just like some of the companies, and 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 you get into, yeah, just some of the nefarious plots of the companies that you were working for, and it has all pre-generated characters, so you don't need to make any characters. Zero prep overall, like even for the GM, really. I mean, sure, it helps, to have read it, uh, but comparatively, like to a lot of other games, like you're really not needing, just like a lot of prep. And but most importantly, maximum tension. It's just such a great tense game, and it plays like a final patrol. The clock is running, extraction isn't coming, and that's why it works so well, just for live broadcasts like this, or just for veteran group play. You know, Groups that have been playing for a long while. It's fun to play a game like where everyone may not make it. You 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 have to just be you got to you may have to decide just how you're going to go out. You're going to go out in a blaze of glory, or are you going to go out saving everyone? You're going to be the sacrificial lamb, and so there's all these like crazy scenarios that can happen just because of this this very like tense stories that can be told. And they can also be great just like one night charity events, community events. There's no campaign commitment required. That like it's not going to like go on forever and ever. I mean, you could certainly keep the the players and then play on, and for longer campaign plays, then I definitely suggest Rapture Protocol, which is just another. It's kind of like the next adventure, the next step up, in it's a little bit more involved, like it's even more intense. You got a lot more stuff to figure out, and it's a lot more winding as far as twists and turns that kind of happen in the story, just kind of as you go, people that you meet, and the circumstances that you get thrown into. And so it's great for so Rapture Protocol like is just more of a long term or long form thing, and it's certainly something that we can do here on this program. And and it's something that I invite you to ask me about, and then let's work it out and see if we can't make that time available, because I'd love to play with you guys. And the game is is easy enough, that that just the logistics, really all that you need are d6s, so, or 6-sided dice, and that's it. And I think virtually everybody has 6-sided dice. And so so that's really all that you need, and everything else like I can easily provide. And so then we can just have a fun little adventure, and go through just kind of these wild stories that that Free League has made so wonderfully. And so it also kind of like it gets into the long form play, just really gets into the corporate agendas, competing orders, ethical gray areas, and decisions that may haunt future sessions. It's a lot of fun, and it's and yes, it is alien, so there just may be an alien, but it's not about killing monsters. It's about like what you're willing to live with, like what you're willing to take with you. And so I really kind of just get into a lot of the the s- the people stories. There's just like some great moral quandaries, that just get thrown into these wild games. And so the one shots, campaigns, um uh y- they're all great in their own right, but it doesn't have to be a huge, time commitment, and it can be done, like in a night, and I'd love to uh to play with you guys. And so you don't need to be a gamer. I mean, you know, if you've ever, just like trusted a team, worked under pressure, made decisions with bad intelligence, whether they are yours or somebody else's, you already qualify. It's about connection, just laughing, stress relief, and just shared storytelling, just embracing the suck, just having a good time with your friends, with your battle buddies, with fellow veterans. And and I look forward to, just being able to hash out, just like what that even is, like um and uh and it's just it's a fun time to just, make up shit, and make up, you know um just this wild character, and how he's uh how he fits in, in this crazy story. And so everybody fits in their own way, and it's so fun to make it work, because that's really all that you're doing, is you're just making this story work, like oh well, you're just the tool push around here. Oh well, thank God, because we need to fix this engine, and nobody else here is good at it. And um but then, do we even want this engine fixed? Like, I don't know, do we really even want, like the power back on, you know, or, you know, uh, or we've got 1 hour left and we need oxygen badly. So we need to, get this thing fixed now. So these are all fun, like quandaries that get thrown into the game. And I think it's so much fun. And I think Alien, like really is, I say it again and again on this show, in on this podcast, and and just whenever I'm talking about role playing games, it's just my favorite role playing game, just because it's so tense, and so it's so cooperative. It respects crews. It respects stress. It respects teamwork, and it respects like the cost of decisions. And so for veterans, I mean, that's not fiction. That's familiar territory, just with worse lighting and even better monsters. So if you're listening right now, just grab your crew, reach out, and let's play this thing live. And because in space, no one can hear you scream, but at the table, your team always does. So it's a fun game that I'm looking forward to playing with you at some point or another, on this channel. And also, like, please feel free to reach out to me on ariesbrood.com. And my email address is there. But then also, like, you can reach out on Facebook and Instagram, and even, like, you can watch this on Twitch. And I look forward to responding in any of these socials that are out there. And and then we can get a good game to the table, and have a great time. So um, it's been a great time just talking about Alien. again, as I do on this channel from time to time, because it's just so great. But we will get into like some mystery games, and if you have any ideas of games that you want me to play, that you want me to bring to the table, then I'm going to see what I can do about making that happen. So I am on the board with Gamers Giving. It's a great little charity in town, and they have a huge library of games that I can potentially have at my disposal. And so there are some great ways that we can, get some of your favorite games, to the table. And I hope that we're able to do that for you. So, thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that I know that I kind of glossed over, this game, but I hope that I, kind of touched on some of, the more important, aspects of the Alien role-playing game, and why I think that it's just a great fit for veterans. Just some fun stories, that can be a great time. And I hope that we're able to share that time together in the future. So, but thanks so much for listening. And I have just really appreciated our time. And I hope that you have a great evening, and take care. Play some great games.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.